Let's welcome in Jonathan Jones to talk about Rob Gronkowski announcing his retirement. Yet again, JJ, I think a lot of us thought Tom Brady's back, Gronk is probably going to come back, but instead deciding to call it a career.
I'll tell you what, there were obviously a lot of hopeful folks down in Tampa hoping that Rob Gronkowski would come back and play with Tom Brady here in the 2022 season, hoping to chase another Lombardi down there. And talking with the folks there over the past couple of weeks, it was really split. And the split was some folks telling me, I truly do not know if Rob Gronkowski will come back or not. And some folks sort of hoping, you know what, he was never going to come back for minicamp, mandatory or not. He didn't want to put his body through that. Okay. There were some folks there that kind of hoped that he would be there at the start of training camp, that he had been taking care of himself, that he would be available. And so now here he is retiring for a second time. Amanda, does that mean that he's done playing football? I don't know. You know, he might be a little bit of a boxer, right? A little Sugar Ray in him where, okay, you know what? Actually, I will come back out of retirement. I will not at all be surprised if Rob Gronkowski keeps his body up. If Tampa's looking pretty good, he didn't have to go through training camp, and now Tommy lures him back to give it one more go. Maybe. I'm not going to rule it out. And also, Amanda, you wouldn't say arg, so I'll say arg.
No, I'm not making pirate noises on air, but I appreciate. Yeah, sure enough, his agent Drew Rosenhaus telling ESPN, it would not surprise me if Tom Brady calls him during the season to come back and Rob answers the call. I mean, the Bucs and Tom Brady with Rob Gronkowski there. I mean, let's talk about their outlook with him not there, though. If he decides, you know what, I'm actually good, what do the Bucs look like without him?
Listen, the Buccaneers really like Cam Brate, and he's a guy who's been in their system for many years. He knows Tom very, very well, and he's the guy who's been waiting to really break out. He was sort of on that trajectory, and then they went out and they got O.J. Howard, and then Tom came to town, and they went out and they got Rob Gronkowski, and so he got sent to the back burner a little bit. But O.J. Howard went to the Buffalo Bills at the start of free agency. Now Gronk not coming back, and so it's the Cam Brate show, at least for right now. They drafted a couple tight ends in the 4th and 6th rounds, respectively, of the draft. You can't really imagine that those guys are going to be out there contributing 700, 800 receiving yards in their rookie season. And so would the Bucs potentially look for a trade partner? I was just texting around with a couple NFL executives. One told me this is not a great position to want to have to trade for. There aren't that many guys who are apparently on the trading block right now at the tight end position. However, there are a couple of very good tight ends, or good to very good tight ends on the free agent market. Number one would be Eric Ebron, former Lions, former Steelers tight end, Colts tight end, and so he's still out there and available. Jared Cook has been around the league for a long, long time, in his mid-30s, but can still get the job done, no question about it. Jimmy Graham, one of the best tight ends of the past 15 or so years in the NFL. Certainly his better days are behind him, but he's still out there and available. So those would be the three names that you would look for if you're hoping to get a free agent tight end. But again, and I'll stress this, I know that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that Tom Brady, absolutely believe in Cameron Brate, and he's a guy who has been ready and waiting to break out, just waiting his turn behind one of the all-time greats, if not the great, at the tight end position.
Yeah, let's talk about his legacy here a little bit. 4-time Super Bowl champ, NFL Comeback Player of the Year, a ton of accolades for Gronk there. What does he rank for you at the tight end position all time?
Well, it's difficult just because the tight end position has changed over time, right? So if you want to take, it's hard to compare him to a Mike Ditka, for example, even though he was the best receiving tight end that the league had ever seen up until his point. When you look at the 100th anniversary team, if you look at guys who have played in the league as long as you and I have been alive, Amanda, it's really just Gronk and Tony Gonzalez. And there are only, I think, 5 tight ends on that top 100 team. You have John Mackey and you had Ditka, as I mentioned, Kellen Winslow. So that's really who he's competing against. When you consider what he was able to do as a receiver, it's incredible. When you consider what he was able to do as a receiving tight end in the postseason, also incredible. But also his blocking, which we don't have the perfect stat for that. But when you want to say, all right, who's the best blocking tight end? Who's the best receiving tight end? Who did both at the highest level? I think without question it's Rob Gronkowski. And then who did it not only at the highest level in the regular season, who also did it in the postseason, who got the job done when he needed to get the job done to win rings. Again, Rob Gronkowski. So if you want to make him your number one tight end based off of that criteria, you're not going to hear an argument from me.
Gronk writing a very lengthy statement on social media saying in college he was asked to write about his dream job, and he claims that he said that he wanted to play for the Bucs. If Gronk were to not stay retired, would it be the Bucs and no one else? Could we potentially see him on another team? What do you think about his future?
It is hard to imagine that he would be with another team. He knows Tom, he knows the system, obviously there with Byron Leftwich. And so it's almost impossible for me to imagine that he would be going elsewhere if he does not stay retired. Certainly if he decides to break his retirement in the middle of the season, the Buccaneers are obviously going to hold on to his rights. I don't think that they would give them up very easily to another team if he wanted to go off and play in, let's say, a Buffalo, for example. So I could see and can really only see if Gronk decides to come out of retirement that he would return to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hoping to win yet another Super Bowl with Tommy.
We will see if it sticks. Jonathan Jones, thank you so much for joining us here on HQ to talk about the legacy of Rob Gronkowski and the future of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And you can hear more about this, likely an emergency pod that will be on Pick Six Podcast very soon, talking about Rob Gronkowski announcing his retirement on this Tuesday. Make sure to download and follow. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.